Alright, so I'm currently trying to platinum every single type of EA game that there is out there, and if I can't do it before the channel hits 1 million subscribers, then my punishment is I have to platinum Fortnite, one of the longest, hardest, and most grindy games of all time. So make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Anyways, yes, I know the title of this video is talking about Fortnite, but as you all know and have just heard, if I fail any of these games in the EA list, I have to platinum Fortnite. So that game is basically forcing me to do this and to platinum the game today, which I guarantee none of you have ever heard of. And when you look it up on Google search, Iron, the periodic table element, comes up. But today's game is an indie game that EA decided for some unknown reason deserved to be published and developed by them, called FE or FE. I don't think it really matters. But this game, I'm gonna warn you all, is the worst game I've ever played in my entire life. It has zero plot, zero purpose, completely f***ing sucks. I have no clue why EA decided to greenlight this and not Star Wars Battlefront 3 or Garden Warfare 3 for that matter. And the trophy guide for this game suggests that it's very easy to platinum, which I guess it is, but trust me, bro, it sucks in every way possible despite it being a short platinum. In total, however, Faye has 13 trophies, including the platinum, and that's actually perfect because I needed a refresh on my 13 reasons why list, and I think I'll just throw this entire trophy list in the slots and call it a day. God's plan, if you will. But stage 1 to this game's platinum is you just beat the game and go for the 2 missable trophies inside of it, and I'm not actually sure if either of them are missable because I feel like they aren't. However, the very sophisticated entity named PL Paulo who wrote this guide claims they are, so we must listen to his every word and believe it since nothing is ever wrong on the internet. But this so-called video game begins with a little cutscene showing the world we're going to be withering away inside of, and a little crash landing of sorts with these bright white lights flying in, and yes, one of those are indeed the character we play as, who never gets addressed, mentioned, named, or any sort of explanation as to what we are, who we are, or why we are here. And that basically sums up this game. You then just begin wandering around, and that's pretty much the entire gameplay of this game, just with more and more parkour and platforming added in as you get further in the woods of this forest. The only real redeeming quality of this game, though, is that they actually did give us a functioning map, which is a big W considering this game's map would be entirely confusing without that, and I have to say thanks for that, I guess. Even though I got this game for free, I still want a refund though. But I just kept on jerking it in a forwards direction or backwards. I think I'm lost already. However, I would eventually gather enough of these crystals to unlock my first ability of the game, and yes, you heard me right, this game has collectibles inside of it. And naturally, we need to grab every single one of them for a trophy, which took me like 9 hours to do, by the way, and I'm gonna end it all now. But once you do get enough collectible crystals within each ability tier, it then just stays atop your screen until you go visit the forest fleshlight and go into the realm of demons and hell to be blessed with a new ability and baby oil. Upon leaving, I apparently learned the tree climbing ability, and that was the first trophy of the day. But I actually don't want it. You can take it back. I hate this fucking ass bitch game. So yes, you heard me right, maybe, if you could understand anything coherent coming out of this video. But I can now climb trees, and that means that now I will not only get lost on the ground floor, but now lost in the skies to make my day even worse than it already was. But eventually, after wandering through the forest more, I did reach this game's enemies, which are like robots or robotic suits with things inside of them. There was an attempt at lore as you play, but EA just didn't really try to make it work, or if they did try, it didn't. So I have no idea what the enemies are in this game, but all you have to do to avoid them is not be seen. I know, insane. And you also can't kill them as well, which is awesome. I love being able to do nothing to fend for myself, like Stephen Hawking versus a downward staircase. But there's also another type of collectible in this game called Silent Helmets, which is also a trophy for grabbing them all. However, they are also an interactive collectible of sorts, and you get a little glimpse into the enemy's life or memories. Turns out they breathe really heavy, so I guess cardio wasn't included in the training ritual, you fat sack of unexercised shithole. Oh yeah, once I viewed and or played out the cutscene of my first helmet, I also got into the trophy pop. This game does also have a few puzzles occasionally, and I don't mean the puzzle of figuring out why this game was made or how the f it generated any sort of sales for EA, but I don't think its sales were considerable because when Googling how much money this game made, nothing comes up. I'm honestly not sure Google knows this game exists, and I might be having a psychotic breakdown right now. But the next trophy I got in this doo-doo fecal matter visual representation of a so-called video game was the one real missable trophy in the game. Basically, there was a plot point where we had to retrieve these glowing green eggs for some bird, and the final one I went for was being guarded by a bear who looks like it has Down syndrome or just Shane Gillis. But the trophy needs us to lead the bear into one of the nearby enemy camps so they all get executed brutally and die a horrible, painful death. But this was easily done done, however, by just throwing some fruit at the bear's back and then slowly walking over to the camp, which is placed right outside of its den. Then just let nature do the rest and the trophy should pop easily. So yeah, that was the missable trophy of this game. There is sort of another one, but it's only missable if you f up on your own and not by just missing something in general. However, it's not till a bit later in the game, so I just kept on playing. But the real challenge of this game's story is just staying awake during it. I haven't ever fallen asleep while playing a video game, but Jesus Christ, this game damn near made me pass out as I was playing in the middle of the day after getting decently average sleep the night before. That's how boring this shit is. I can't even begin to express it besides showing you a minute straight of exactly raw gameplay. Have fun like I did! Okay, hi, welcome back. If you watched all of that, then you now understand and we have formed a bond together, so I will show you more trophies in this creation of media that is sure to be lost, and should be lost, quite frankly. But the next trophy I got was from just jumping across 10 different trees in a row. I also did it on complete accident, but it turns out this is actually very easy to do when you have no clue where to go and are simply just jumping around mindlessly. So here's that trophy. The area I was in also did have the one somewhat cool thing in the entire game, a little parkour challenge where you had to climb up a giant f***ing deer that was roaming around the area, and it was only interesting because it was low-key hard to do so. Not only does this game have a dumb story, dumb gameplay, boring story, and boring gameplay, it also has parkour that hardly works half the time, just to add a little bit more to the orgy of shits and giggles. I don't even know or care how much longer I went without more trophies, but it felt like hours because I was drifting in and out of consciousness like a fentanyl leaner on the streets of Detroit. But I would end up getting that last missable trophy of the game, and it was called Hide and Seek, which is gotten from just finding all these duplicates of ourselves, being 4 total. But you also have to find them all and initiate a tackle from the top of a tree for it to count for the trophy. And I think it's missable because they will sometimes get off the trees occasionally and just sit on the ground. So just wait for the targets to get back up the tree and then do the deed. The trophy pops after committing unwanted touchings, and here it is. My next trophy I got was in from beating the game, and I would have given any sort of commentary, talking points, literally anything on this game's story if I could. It quite literally had no story. There was nothing in it that happened, and it just ends off with a cutscene showing absolutely random shit occurring. Whoever made this game was either on acid or blind. I actually think a blind person might have done a better job, and that's on God. But here's the trophy for beating the story, if you could even call it that. And one more thing, I'm pretty sure the time that I fell down the stairs in my house had more plot than this game did, but anyway. That's what I'm saying. So now it's time to go back and get every single collectible. This took me another 5 hours of gameplay, by the way, and I seriously think my life is just being wasted doing this, all to avoid Fortnite. Why must I suffer? Why? But yeah, I followed a few video guides for collectibles. It was very hard to, however, because there isn't a lot of good ones out there, and it's also really hard to classify areas in this game due to there not being any names on the map, and it's straight up just areas. W map system, I take back any compliments I gave on it before. But yeah, this was boring as shit. I wanted to cry. I also ordered DoorDash halfway through because I needed a little boost, and it made me feel like shit after eating it, so now I'm actually suffering IRL. But before I did go to the final area of this game for collectibles, after 4 hours of picking away at them, I just ran around quickly and did all the random trophies this game has, which are far and few between, but very easy to do nonetheless. The first one was called Shepherd, from herding at least 10 of these little animals in the game, and I just went to an area where inbreeding was in season, I suppose, literally tamed one of them, and then they all just showed up, so yeah, I guess here's the trophy. I then got a trophy called Back to Back, from riding 2 owls in a row, which is done by hopping on one, getting off, and hopping on the other without touching the ground. Very hard, I know, and here's the trophy. I then glided from this game's big-ass waterfall to the furthest away possible biome for a trophy called the Longest Glide, and now I'm prepared to write the longest manifesto and then mail it to EA. I then went back to the credits island where the game puts you after beating it, I guess, but there was a trophy from freeing this baby deer from captivity, even though personally I would have liked to see it suffer for eternity like I am. The final 2 trophies I needed were then both those collectible trophies, and it took another hour to get, which was awesome. I love edging to paint drying, which is what this game basically is. I've actually had more fun sitting in line at the DMV than playing this f***ing game. But here's both of those collectible trophies and the platinum trophy, not even bothering to let them fully pop before I exited out and deleted the game immediately off my PS5. Quite literally the biggest trash dumpster, boring ass snooze fest of a game I've ever played. Bluey the video game was 10 times better, and it's not even a joke. I'm being so serious. I hate EA, and they should really consider not publishing any indie game to ever ask them next time. Good lord above. What the f am I doing with my life, bro?